Disclosure also. We're recording now. Great. Welcome. Good morning. Good Monday morning. It's the beginning of the week for us here after spring break. We have two little ones. I'm going to show you a picture. And so this morning was a different one, a special one to get them going and out to school. But we are here to talk about business development and marketing on a Monday morning. So exciting. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm going to try to share the screen. I was going to say, full disclosure for Katie, if there's some construction going on around here, so my internet might go out. So what we're going to do is I'll just jump on my cell phone and we'll pull up the Zoom. So just wait, hang on just a couple of seconds. I'll get you back in and we'll just keep going and rolling with it. That would mean that potentially my presentation is not being shown either. So let's see. First off, I'm going to make sure that I have you on the right slide to present because I have my whole schedule. You don't want to see that, believe me. So what I'm going to do is share my screen here and hopefully you can see that I'm sharing my presentation. And then I'm going to do the slideshow. So this presentation was entitled at some point, what do you need to do to succeed in private practice? 5 steps for building your platform. So that's the idea that I want you to think about when it comes to business development and marketing as you get started or as you want to refine your marketing. Hopefully this morning you hear, or whenever it is that you're listening to this, today you will hear good ideas, both kind of in general to give you a new perspective, but also I really want to make this very, very practical and down to earth. And my favorite part of the presentation, any of the presentations that I do, is the Q&A. So you might find that the presentation is sweet and short, and that's by design because I want to be able to chat with you. That's the beauty of this technology, is that we can all be together at the same time, even though we're really far apart geographically. And so this morning, I know that you can get a lot of information out there on business development and marketing, even specifically for therapists, but you don't get to chat with someone who's done it for a while that's often. So that's kind of my hopefully my main focus this morning, not so much in giving you content that you never heard. Hopefully that's the case, but if it's not, I really want to focus on that Q&A time. So here we go. I do a little bit of a disclaimer about me. Now I've been told, come on, you got to go through this fast. So I'm going to give you the short version of it. Not by Kate, by the way, full disclaimer, Dr. Walker has never said that to me, but my wife has. So when she's heard me give some presentations, do a little bit just about you. Okay, well, here it is. Full disclosure, I hold a master's degree in psychology from a university that you probably have never heard of, from a town that maybe you've never heard of. That's University of Malaga in southern Spain. So Malaga is the birthplace of Pablo Picasso, and it's also the birthplace of Antonio Banderas. And I say, man, my life would be so much easier if my name was Antonio Banderas. Just answers a lot of questions, because people say David Martin or David Martin, and they don't know what to say. And either one is completely okay with me. I respond to both. I say, as long as you're calling me to eat, I'll go, whether you call me David or David. But I'm from Spain originally, so my mama calls me David, and my last name is Martin. And I went to the same high school as Antonio Banderas, different years. He's a little bit older than me, but we went to the same high school. I moved to the Katy area in 2005. My wife and I met in Spain, and people are like, what are you doing in Katy if you're from Spain? Well, you know, love can take you in different directions in life, right? And so I've been a therapist for about 15 years in the Houston area in different roles, working with agencies. I used to work for a place formerly known as MHMRA of Harris County. Anyone? Have you ever heard of them? Now the Harris Center. I think that a lot of therapists in the Houston area have gone through this wonderful agency. And I started my private practice in 2011. So last year we celebrated our 10th year anniversary, and we are over that 10th year mark. So this year is the 11th year anniversary. And so that I placed that. We have about 30 clinicians today. Most of them work part-time. A few of us work full-time. And I wanted to show you a picture of my wonderful family. I've been married to Natalie for almost 17 years. And they say this is the happiest and most expensive place on earth. That's Epcot. And that was last spring, I think. So there you go. Everyone is happy except for the wallet. It was fun. It was fun. It was an experience. This is the first one. I don't like to put a whole lot of bullet points, but I do have a few bullet points. But the idea with marketing and business development, which is what we are here to talk about, is I'm going to give you 5 steps to consider when you're building that platform of yours. And the first one is to start with wow, meaning, you know, I think you can learn so much. I did, at least when I experienced the Disney World experience. But if you're not into Disney, not everyone is. I know many of you might be, but some of you might really like the experience that you've had with a wonderful company. It could be a great restaurant that you've gone to, or your favorite store. And there are things about that experience that are unique. And when it comes to business, you know, regardless of whether you're selling services or products, the idea is how can you allow the client / patient, for some people who want to call our clients their patients, regardless, the person that you're serving, how can they experience your brand, your company, your services with a wow at first? So that's what it means, starts with wow. And so one of the things that we've done through the years at Martin Counseling is try to create a wonderful customer service experience. And I see that it's so challenging for a lot of people in private practice, because if you're busy enough, guess what you're doing? You're seeing clients, right? And I started just with me, part-time on the side. And so I answered the phones, answered the emails. I had to, you know, that was the time when social media was starting out, doing all the social media stuff. And so it's very difficult to transition into that mentality of, I would like to allow my clients to experience a wow experience from the very beginning. So when I was meeting with a coach and they were coaching me on business development and marketing, one of the things that I think really tremendously helped my practice is they said, you have to bite the bullet and find someone to answer the phones for you. And I know there are some services out there that now will do it. There's some virtual assistants that you can hire. Whatever route you take, I think that's an important one. For someone to be responsive for the emails and phone calls to start that first experience. You can't imagine, especially through COVID, how many times I've heard the compliment for the practice that when someone called that 713 number, a human being was answering the phone. And if we miss that call, we're going to call you right back. And now we have a system where if we miss that call, the system will know that and automatically text you apologizing for missing your phone call and asking you to either call us back or expect a phone call back from us.
David, I want to just interject for a second, because this is so validating for me, because this is literally like one of the first things I teach anybody is just answer the phone. And this was the first major purchase I made when I was starting my practice, was I got someone to help me answer that phone. So thank you for emphasizing this. We do have a question. What system do you use for the text response?
Well, it's all integrated with a system that we use called Grasshopper, but there are other ones out there. So you probably can talk to whatever carrier you use for your regular phone system, because these things continue to evolve and they're in competition with each other. And so I encourage you to look into different ones, price it out. Any of these types of things are going to add a little bit of cost, but again, you're providing that great experience to the client, which is so important. And again, you're not going to believe how many times we get that feedback. Also responsive through email. You can do an auto response in your email right now, and simply saying, even if it's saying, I remember I had this, I received your email. That's really reassuring, right? Because people don't know. I have received your email, and your email is important to me. I think that the david@houstonlpc.com, you guys can try this. If you shoot an email there, you're likely going to still get a response that says, I've received your email is important, I will get back to you, or someone in my team is going to get back with you right away. And so that's just the start. You can be a fantastic therapist in the therapy room, but if your customer service is lacking, just picture, imagine if someone called Disney and no one answered, or again, your favorite company, you show up at a store that you really like, but you don't have anyone greeting you there or taking care of you. It's just good business practice to have a fantastic customer service. Let's see, that I wanted to show you this nice NASA picture. We're in Houston after all, right? I just recently went to the Johnson Space Center. Is that what it's called? NASA in Houston. And so that was a lot of fun. So again, I don't know if I'm talking to a group of folks that is just getting started in private practice, or if you've been doing it for years, decades maybe, but you can launch products, you can launch new services. So anytime there's a new project, I want you to think about it as a new deal that you're launching. So one of the biggest obstacles, therapists, guess where the biggest obstacle is? Right here in our heads, right? Just like we tell our clients, why are you thinking that way? If you thought this other way, maybe you might not think in those other ways. And so the idea is that we tend to think too small. We tend to think too small. One of the works that I've done with coaches through the years is to help me think bigger, because I'm limiting myself. I tend to limit myself. I tend to think that things are going to take a long time, and what I'm going to not accomplish as much as I set out to accomplish. And the coaches have helped me, therapists too, through the years, to think bigger, and have a clear vision for what it is that you'd like to accomplish with what you offer. Don't allow your own mind to be what limits you. Allow reality to dictate how far this project can get. And then
David, hold on. So David, didn't you just write a book?
It's right here. Yes.
Okay, I thought so.
Oh, the thing is not picking it up as a face, so I didn't realize that. But you see that is coming on focus and out of focus. It's not because it's inappropriate adult content, believe me. It's because it doesn't recognize it as a face with this particular filter. But yeah, we can talk about the book quickly right now, but same idea. I was very skeptical when someone approached me about the book with the editor, and it took a while to get that accomplished. But I'm going to talk more about the book in a few slides next. But it goes with this second point too, to assemble your pit crew. So I co-wrote the book with a true writer, an author that knows actually how to write really well. The book is in Spanish. So I collaborated with them through several years in giving them stories. And then the editor, the co-writer, and I helped each other in this project. And when it comes to the private practice, my goodness, I should not get all the credit, far from it. There's so many people that have helped along the way. You know, I used to do all my bookkeeping. Now the bookkeeping is handled by someone else. I used to do my own taxes. Oh my goodness, help me God. You know, now we have an accountant. You know, if you run into any legal questions, I'm not a lawyer and don't play one on TV. So get yourself someone with a license to practice law in the state of Texas or whatever you are. So you're not going to accomplish great things just doing it on your own. You have to allow yourself to be open to receive help. And sometimes we get overwhelmed and say, oh, well, this is going to be costly. Well, you know, if you invest in a coach that can save you thousands of dollars, giving you the tools and resources because someone has been there, done that before you, that's a great investment, you know. So don't think that you have to do all of this on your own. I know very few people, maybe no one, who has truly achieved something big and great on their own. You know, my coaches kept reminded me how much coaching they've gotten through the years. You know, I've gotten to work with some people who have done very well in business. And it seems like the farther they've gone, the more help they've recruited for themselves. And this is the third one is a very practical one, but one that I come across a whole lot is, you know, invest in a great headshot. And that gives you a mentality of, I have to invest in this brand. I know for some of you it's so uncomfortable, right, to talk about you as a brand. What? I don't want to be a brand. I don't want to be a Nike, a Microsoft, but you're offering services. And that's how the public out there, you know, Joe in the corner who is looking around to see if they want some therapy for their child, that's the perception. And so a great headshot not only is good, it's a good idea, but it's for your own mentality. You're preparing to launch. You know, we had this headshot, maybe my face in the back is recognized. Oh, my co-writer is there. You go, look, it blurs everything else except my face. And so, you know, it's an investment, but it gives me that mentality. This is a recent picture. There's some pictures of me that are when I was younger and skinnier and had more hair, and more hair on the top, less hair on my face. But, you know, get a great headshot, get into that mentality to prepare to launch. The next one has to do with having one place that you call your home base. And the idea with this is that, of course, we have all these tools with social media and blogs and YouTube and videos and audio through podcasts. But where can people go to find you? So for me, there are two places. You can learn more about me at martincounseling.com. That's where I offer my counseling services. I'm an LPC supervisor, so I offer my supervision services through there. And there's some coaching and other things that we offer through Martin Counseling. So anything that is related to the practice, people can go to martincounseling.com. Now we have a presence on Instagram, and now they're telling me we need a presence on TikTok, and then we have a presence on Facebook, and this, that, Twitter, you know, this, that, and the other. However, you need one place where people can come and see what you offer. And then from there, you can expand into other places. Another home base for me, there's a little bit different. There's a tool for marketing in a way, but it was not built originally for that. It's HoustonLPC.com. And here's a quick story. You want to hear the quick story on HoustonLPC.com? I was an intern, brand new intern, and I was already thinking about what am I going to do when I get to go in private practice. I said intern, not associate, because that's what I was, right, at the time. And I said, well, sure enough, HoustonLPC.com is going to be already taken, but I'll go and see what variables of that I can find. And guess what? I guess someone forgot to renew that domain, but it was available. So I couldn't believe it. For 10 bucks, $10, I invested in securing that name, HoustonLPC.com. And then I went to .org and .net, and sure enough, they were available for another extra $10 each. I secured those names, and now I had a domain. What do I do? Well, if you don't want to learn to design your own website, that's fine. But I was interested in learning, so I started doing things. And one of the things at the time that I saw that we really needed, maybe it's also out of a personal interest, was a job bank, for Houston area places where they're offering openings for jobs. So we just created, me and my friends, but basically me, they say, oh, that's a good idea, David, you should do it. So I created this job board, and that's the one that gets the most hits out of the whole website. And why do you think that is? Because it's helpful to people, it's useful. So what can you create that is helpful and you're adding value out of that home base? And there's a little bit about this in a minute, but the model is that you have the one place where people can come learn about you. In my case, martincounseling.com, HoustonLPC.com. And then from there, you can start other things. We have a blog that is part of HoustonLPC.com. I don't really vlog, so video log, for those of you who might not necessarily know what vlog is. It's basically blogging, talking about a subject matter through video. Podcasts, I mean, I was hearing the podcast was going to be big 10 years ago, and here we are. Podcast is huge, as you guys well know. And one third point that I added there is, please don't worry about the metrics. Don't compare yourself to who someone else is today. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday. If you are taking one step at a time, give yourself a pat in the back. Yay, I'm getting one step at a time, right? So no comparisons with where someone else is today, how many followers they get, how many likes they get. Those algorithms can drive you nuts. So do you, and be confident that someone out there wants to hear what you have to say. That's the main point here. And if you're authentic and you're adding value, the numbers will take care of themselves. And then there's, as you well know, there's quantitative things that we can count, and there are qualitative things that are hard to count. So if I come across someone who said, David, 5 years ago, I was looking for a job in Houston, and I went on this website, HoustonLPC.com, the job board. I got a job with a practice because they were, posting the job there. Man, that's so cool. I'm so excited for them. So how can you quantify changing someone's life, adding to their career in a way that it was impactful to them, and they're thankful to you forever? And maybe it was just putting a link there to the job board. Unfortunately, therapists, I don't think we hear kudos as much as we should. We hear a lot of the complaints and from time to time we get some positive feedback from a client, because our clients are busy struggling with their issues, and I don't really know why that is. Maybe someone smarter than me can figure that out, but the reality is that we don't hear, as often as we should in this profession, how much we're impacting someone in a qualitative way that we can't really quantify. And so don't worry about the metrics, forget about the numbers, be patient with all of that. And maybe that you give that up, with the book. I call it a fancy business card, That's all it is. So I give it away all the time. I go to a conference, we have a table, someone approaches me, oh, what is this? Oh, it's in Spanish. Here you go. Let me sign it for you. It's just a fancy business card. It's a way to establish yourself as a reputable individual who may or may not know too much about the subject matter. So my book is about bipolar disorder. I love working with clients who've been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I thought that the Spanish speaking market had a hole in that, addressing bipolar disorder in a way that was not too technical for people to read. So it's really to try to address the stigma around mental health. And it's 5 stories from the couch of doing therapy with clients with bipolar disorder. And then at the end, it's a lot of encouragement for people to go get help and to really have some evidence-based information on diagnosing and treating bipolar disorder. But it's a fancy business card. I never wrote it to make money. I wrote it to make a point. And so from a business marketing point of view, it's published through Amazon. So it's self-published. I didn't want to mess with publishing and you don't make a lot of money. I don't know if you've heard this, but you don't make a lot of money writing books unless you're like a really big deal, right? Which is very, very few people in the world. And so just if you're thinking about writing a book, please write it. And I hope you use it as a tool. Again, I think I have something around the book here.
So David, one more thing about the book though, because you mentioned brand earlier and how that can feel kind of icky, but your book positions you and your brand, doesn't it? I mean, it positions you as an expert. And so that is pushing clients to you and your practice as well, right?
100%. Yes. And, for me also, a lot of opportunities have come up to do presentations for the Spanish speaking community that before, without the book, it would have been much harder to get those shots at being on podcasts or giving presentations, or, I collaborate with some media companies, helping them do some TV and they post it on. So it's a lot of work that is done for me. I just go and talk and for better or worse, they keep inviting me. So I guess they think I know what I'm talking about, but it's really humbling. But it has opened doors that is so difficult to knock on unless you have this little tool called a book. So I know there's a high percentage of Americans who want to write a book, right? And so that tells me that there's likely a high percentage of therapists who want to write a book. So we take for granted all the knowledge that we have. We think that everyone else out there knows this stuff already, but you have a unique knowledge that not a lot of people know about. And so think about that audience, the general audience. So anyway, I could read. I'm trying to encourage you here. If you have a book in your head, get it down, figure out a way to type it and self-publish it on Amazon. It's to me felt like an overwhelming process, but it wasn't. The Amazon does a lot of the work for you. It was as easy. Honestly, when I pressed that publish button, it was so scary. It was like, this is it? This is all it takes? You just upload the PDF and they're good to go. And talking about recruiting people, I have had help from a lot of people that either have not charged me anything or have not charged me much because I was daring to ask the question, will you help me? This is what I'm trying to do. This is the idea. You're in the helping profession. So when you explain why it is, we're not drilling oil wells, please help me promote my oil company. Please help me because I'm starting my private practice. Will you help me? I have some questions. Can I buy you some coffee and pick your brain around these things? And then, through the years, we've had students in our practice come and get their hours. And my goodness, students keep us on our toes, right? Because they ask lots of questions. But they also contribute a lot. And with this social media stuff, there can be so helpful in helping us understand kind of what it is that people are using, because this is evolving constantly, right? And so Don't be afraid to ask for help. I had some points. Where did they go? There you go. That's my Katy, Texas internet going slow. So expand your reach, step 4. That's your step 4 for you. So, you know, I heard this kiss all marketing goodbye. The idea is that, you know, when I first got started, I was tempted to invest a whole lot of time and money in traditional ways of marketing. And I just haven't had that much success. So I just talked from my experience when it comes to the good old marketing models. I think that things have changed a lot. And one of the things that have helped me is I've been building this subscriber list through the blog. So in Houston, at houstonlpc.com, you can find several places where people can subscribe. And so email has been good. People can download a free copy of the first chapter of the book if they share their email address with me. And then what I do is I surprise them with a whole copy of the ebook after they download the first chapter. So again, the mentality of, I'm not trying to monetize this through selling more copies of the book. Here's the book for free. Share it with your friends. It's like, what? Why are you doing this? You know, I thought I was just gonna get the first chapter. Oh, you already read the first chapter? Here's the whole shebang. You get to keep it, distribute it, copy it, make copies of it, print it if you want to, put it on a binder. That is not the point to get you to you know, again, this one as a tool. I know that you could do that with counseling and you wouldn't make any money, right? Because you can always give your counseling away. At some point, you have to monetize things. You have to have a business model, but there are things that you need to give away. That's the point there. Give your stuff away. So if you ever see me and you want a copy of your book, you can say, hey, David, I don't read in Spanish, but you told me in your presentation, I'll get a copy of your book. Now I told you the trick. You can go to the website of the book, bipolarizados.com, get that free chapter, and then eventually you get that whole book for free. And then last but not least on this point, consistency. So, you know, we're in the process of developing new material for the practice, and we want that logo with that phone number to show up in as many places as we can and be consistent across the board, right? So if you go to the website, you see that font. I realized this after the fact. I was working with a designer who, by the way, was at the time dating my sister-in-law. And I asked him over dinner, will you help me design my little logo? And he said, of course, not a problem, right? And so it's professionally designed. And then I was looking at Memorial Herman's font. I'm like, man, it looks really similar. So I didn't do that. That was me. I was not trying to copy Memorial Herman, but he said that's just a good font. I'm going to use it. So sure enough, is very similar. And so people that has caught their eyes. Like, were you trying to do? I'm like, no. Listen, I can't take the credit for that. But be consistent with your logo, with your brand, with your pictures across platforms, and recruit someone to help you with the design if you're not into design. I know that some people do the contest thing. I think that's really cool, where they say, number 1, number 2, number 3, people vote, right? And they get the feedback. Oh, and if 90% of people go for number 2, but you really wanted number 1, guess what you have to do? Go with number 2, right? If 90% of the feedback that you get is that people like number 2. So, you know, that mentality of who is my audience? I need to deliver for the person out there. This is not necessarily what works just for me, but what's the data, right? If you're data driven with your assessments and interventions, as you should be, then allow the data to also guide your marketing and business development. What's good business, period? And now how can you transfer that to the services and products that you provide? Another thing that I think is very important for clinicians to hear is that We have to engage with the audience, right? Engage your tribe. And that goes for collaborating with other folks. One of the things that we've done in the Katy area for the last, I think it's been 6-7 years, is the Katy Mental Health Networking. I can't tell you how valuable that has been. You know how much we charge attendees to come to the Katy Mental Health Networking? $0. Do you know how much the membership is for that? Is $0. Why is that? Because we want to collaborate with other clinicians around the Katy area. If you're in the Katy area, come to one of these meetings if you like to hang out and experience it and get free CEUs. And then we get a free lunch. What else do you want? But the idea is engaging with not only your clients and potential clients, but also collaborating with people who are around you geographically and around you, I guess, in the field of what you're doing, just like you're doing with this presentation, right? And so I can't tell you how important that is. If there's not if there's a networking event close to you that you can afford taking some time off and going to, you should do it. You should put that in your calendar and commit to doing once a month, right? Well, that's not that many. That's only 12 a year. And I know it's a sacrifice. I have to carve out time of my schedule. When I'm there, I'm not managing the practice. I'm not seeing clients. It's costing me my time and my effort. And I got to invest in some of it. I mean, we have some people that provide the lunch, and we have now a church that is allowing us to use the space. But there is an investment that goes with it. I remember we had a space one time, and we didn't have enough chairs for all the RSVPs that we had. So I went out, I'm like, how do you get chairs? And we figured someone was renting chairs for $1 a chair. And so we went out and said, okay, bring chairs, I don't know, I forget, 50 chairs or something like that. So I invested the $50. It came out of my pocket, but it's fine because you know what? I got to sit down with so many people and meet new people, collaborate. And so the next slide, there you go, is be responsive to comments, to emails, to social media.
Hey, David, what we see is engage your tribe. That's been up for a second, so you may have to refresh us or something.
Oh, interesting. Let me see. Yeah,
there it is. There's engage your tribe, and now we have the bullets.
Step 5, yeah, in the bright orange for Monday mornings. And so be responsive when it comes to social media. Make social media social. The more you engage with your social media and the more you engage socially with other human beings, the better your branding, your marketing, your business development is going to be. You know, a lot of business development I've learned from folks who are business development representatives, and they're thrilled to talk to you. So if you invite them out for lunch or coffee, it's their job to sometimes take you out to lunch and coffee. You know, I don't mind paying the bill because I'm the one inviting. So don't get me wrong. I'll cover the cost of that lunch and that breakfast or the dinner, whatever the case may be. But sometimes they offer, no, this is part of what we do. Let me do this for you. So interact with business development representatives from other practices, from other different levels of care. And then you have to be able to put aside negativity. And there are people out there who are going to try to give you that low star scoring, right? That's so difficult because you're working so hard to provide value. You know, one of the problems that I find myself having, and I heard this from the president of the United States. I forget which one it was, but it was a while back where it's not political, whether one way or the other. But they said, you know, I just like and trust everyone. Like, oh, that's my problem. I just like and trust everyone. So we need to create some filters, right? And so that's my point there. Don't feed the trolls. And that means don't get discouraged and don't interact with people who are giving you negative stuff online, because you will find them when you do this for long enough. Now, feedback is important. If someone is giving you feedback with a good intent to help you get better, that's a different thing. But just negative feedback just to try to harm you, that's a troll, right? That is someone that just does not have your best interest in their mind anyway, so you got to move along, right? Just like you would coach or counsel one of your clients. So what do you do with a difficult person? What do you do with a fool? Well, you put more boundaries. What do you do with someone who is being evil to you? Well, you just, sometimes you need to say, you need to talk to my lawyer, right? And then don't engage, focus on engaging on the tribe, and don't engage people who are not part of your tribe, do not want to be part of your tribe. And then last but not least, I would love to be able to spend a little bit of time with you guys. How are we doing on time? Great.
We're doing great on time. We want to make sure we saw all of your slides. So can you go through just your major points again to make sure we saw that? I think we may have not seen step 4.
Okay, sure. This you can see step 1 right there, right? Start with wow.
Start with wow.
Let's create compelling customer service and don't settle for less than greatness. Prepare your launch. There it is, right? You can see that. Think bigger, no bigger. Assemble your pit crew and get a great headshot. Then 3 was building your home base, understanding the model, starting the blog, and forgetting about the metrics for now. The 4 was expanding your reach.
I think this is the one we didn't see.
Oh, so there are 4 points there. The telling goodbye to that good old marketing, building your subscriber list. And again, building your subscriber list by hopefully giving something away. And then the 4th one is giving some things away. And then employing consistent branding. You know, something that I've seen therapists do well is have a flyer with some important pointers on a specific topic. Think about, 25 ways to combat anxiety during COVID. I mean, I just made that up, but you could do some research and come out with 25 legitimate ways to address anxiety during a pandemic. Has someone else done that? Well, likely, but you can start with an introduction that is very much yours and end with asking them that if they're interested in learning more about your services, they may contact you as such and such. I just made that up. Maybe one of you surprises us, says, here are my 25 pointers. And then that's a PDF. And that's your flyer that you're going to give away. If someone subscribes, they gave the 25 pointers for free, right? Now, you got to do a good job with the 20. You just can't make it up on the fly. You have to do the research and, maybe a disclaimer on the top. This is not a substitution for treatment, that type of thing. But this is something that all of us can do. And then the last but not least there was employing consistent branding. So I'm sorry about that. I could see it on my end, but I guess the presentation didn't want to do it. And then the 5th one you saw, which was the engaging your tribe. Great. So I would love to spend some time with you guys talking about anything you want to talk about. Asking me questions about my journey with marketing or the practice or having a group practice.
Okay, I'm watching the chat. And if you all don't ask, I'm going to ask him because David, you're talking to a bunch of introverts, and I've heard that over and over again, but everything about you, from the way you smile to the way you talk, to the way you talk about engagement, is very extroverted. And this is, this engage thing. Help us understand why that's important to your business plan.
Sure. Actually, Dr. Daniel Pink, who's a psychologist, has a book on selling and the psychology on selling. And you are 100% okay, Dr. Walker. You already diagnosed me. My personality traits are heavily on the extroverted side of things. If you say, well, tonight we're getting together, you want to, oh yes, I'm gonna come, of course. My wife is like, again, we went out yesterday. I'm like, so let's go, let's be with people. But Dr. Pink talks about this idea of, for me, that I'm such an extrovert by default, I need to learn to spend some time in solitude, to spend time by myself, to slow down. I'm learning hobbies that allow me to not be with a lot of human beings. And so the goal with, according to Dr. Pink, they found out that the best people doing sales are not the ones who are highly extroverted. They're the ones who can turn it on and off on purpose. And so if you identify yourself as an introvert by default, don't think that that's a horrible thing when it comes to sales and marketing. You have the ability to allow people to think and give them time to process some of the information that you're doing it. But if that's you by default, you know where you're gonna have to work, right? In becoming more of an extrovert. Just like I'm working on toning it down just a little bit, right? Because it can be too much for too many people. I get it. I've been doing psychotherapy for a while now. I know what clients are gonna tend to stick with my style versus those who can't, right? And so the work cut out for me is, David, learn to tone it down and not be so much upfront, in your face, right? And for you, it might be the opposite, that you need to learn to be in front of a group and say, hi, my name is such and such, guess what my liner is. You already heard it. My name is David Martin, but you can call me David Martin. What's unique about you? I'm not you. I can't say who you are, right? So you have that advantage over me. The advantage over me is that you're you. And so what is it? What clients do you work with? If I'm presenting on the clinical work that I do, I might say something like, I love to work with families. I work with a lot of bilingual, bicultural families, because at home, guess what? We're a bilingual, bicultural family. So that's unique for me. You might not be bilingual, bicultural. That's okay. What's your selling point that is unique, unique proposition?
Okay, so David, we've got a question. I'm okay. Dr. Smith says, I'm very interested in starting a group practice. What is the process for hiring front office staff and other therapists?
Oh boy, that's a whole presentation.
I know.
In its own. Yeah, I would suggest that you go slowly but surely. I wouldn't try to hire a big group all at once. The way that it came about for me was the timing was such that I got my supervisor's license by the time I was really focusing on being in private practice. And it came out of my interns at the time asking, could we work here for you? And then I said, okay, well, let's figure that out. How could that work? And then after that, it turns out that there are some fully licensed clinicians in the area that they were asking, well, could we come and work for you? And I was like, well, okay, well, sure, come on board. And then when it comes to the front staff, I mean, we've had so many wonderful people through the years, but honestly, I asked my local church, is there anyone interested in coming, helping me with some admin things? And that, for me, that was my primary source of help at the beginning. And I would lie to you if I said that right now is really easy to find administrative help. It's difficult because COVID, and then people have options. All of our front desk personnel, they're bilingual. So I need to find someone who is bilingual and who is willing and able to come to the office and work there. We've done some remote work, and that can be, I found it a little challenging, but other people tell me that that's great and that works for them. So that definitely opens up your options for people. I've worked with an organization that were working with Afghani refugees in Romania. And so I hired someone who was helping me from Romania with some projects that I just needed to do that are very much, data entry. It was around the business development side. So it wasn't on client data or anything like that. I didn't have to worry about that. But he was able to accomplish some projects for us remotely. And because he's in a different country, what is really fair for him in terms of compensation is something that is really affordable for us. So there are different models out there to go about getting some administrative help. I'm giving you a lot of ideas, hopefully not too many, but the idea is don't try all of these at once. Slowly but surely start adding one at a time and see where that goes. That's how I've gone about it.
Dr. Smith, did that answer your question? And you can hit unmute.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Sure.
So David, I'm going to go back to something you said a minute ago, because to me, all that you're doing here about, planning, and what is the process of building, the word that comes to my mind is positioning yourself. You're positioning yourself because, and then ... right? So your end goal, like if you're attending these monthly mentor meetings and you're trying to start a practice, if you're attending the meetings because you want to grow your practice, if you're attending the meetings because you want to add a book or a course to sell, all of these things have to start from a place of kind of knowing who you are, right? And communicating that to, that's kind of what I hear you saying is you kind of have to know who you are and then put it out there. Is that kind of what you're telling us?
Absolutely. I think the process of self-awareness, and I'm not done with self-awareness. I just bought a personality course online. So I want to learn more about, how where I fit in the big five, has an impact on the way that I perceive the world and perceive myself, perceive others. So the journey is constant. So it's like when someone is working through grief and they ask you, well, for how long am I going to deal with grief? And in the back of your head, you're thinking, oh boy, it's like a forever thing, right? It's not done in 1 year. You might feel different a year from now, but the process of growth, that never ends. And
can you give us a list of books that you like? I'm happy to put them in the chat right now. If you've got some books, because I put in the Pink, Dr. Pink, I put his website, but what's the personality thing you're doing, or if you don't mind?
No, I don't mind at all. So I believe this one is through a website called Understanding Myself, and is for $10, you can get a personality test. Is the Big Five, which, by the way, you can do the Big Five for free. There's a website out there that will give you the results for the Big Five as long as you give them your email address.
Got it.
Not a big ask. And then through that is that there is a former Harvard professor of psychology that collaborated with other professors in putting that together. And so that's the one that I'm going to right now. And they have another course I haven't really started. I've looked into it. I need to carve out the time to go through around your future self. So it's a narrative. They ask you questions. What do you want to go? Where do you want to head? That type of thing. And it's, a lot of kind of self-paced coaching, if you will. But it's all done through answering those questions. And then my goal is to hire someone to then go through all of that with me. And so the learning process is very important. And, like I said, I found so much value in interacting with other people and picking their brain.
I'm so glad you put that out there. You can't do this alone, and it's constant. I think sometimes people think, okay, well, once I get the big practice, then I'll be happy. And then it's done. It's like, no, no, you just want more and you want to do more, or you want, right? So, and trying to figure that on your own is hard, right? It's good to have that tribe you're talking about, right? And you do that for people.
We do our best to try to help people in that journey, because there's a lot of self-doubt, right? And so hopefully today you are encouraged to keep going, to keep after it, and it's worth your while. It's not easy. I mean, I wish I could sit here and say, well, it's been always great and just nothing but growth. You have ups and downs, and you know, man, I struggle when people, you know, someone told me something that has been very helpful to me when it comes to people quitting, right? Transitioning to something else, because that's just so hard for me. Why don't you just love us forever? But you know, life changes, and someone reminded me, hey, David, everyone is gonna leave Martin Counseling eventually. You too. I mean, hopefully you get to retire one day, but if not, you might drop dead. And that's another way of leaving. Say, oh, that's true. Everyone who is now at Martin Counseling will eventually leave. And that's okay. Now, there are different reasons why people may leave. There are different ways of leaving. It still hurts, but you know, you need to understand that, keep that in mind, that everyone is gonna.
It's always growing. Everything's growing.
Yeah, it's a process. It's a process, right?
Well, how can people contact you?
Well,
do you
it's
have a
right
slide
there
up there?
at the bottom of that page. Yeah,
Okay,
martincounseling.com, or if you go to houstonlpc.com, and then please, if you have more questions, anything else that you feel is maybe a private matter that you don't feel like asking in front of the whole group, I'll be happy to chat with you and give you value.
And we have a comment in the chat. David, I love your spirit to give and serve in support of others. I believe that's how you stay blessed. We are planting seeds that will grow. So David, thank you so much for being our mentor of the month. And again, David's going to post this on his YouTube channel, Stepper Uppers. You'll get it in your course. And I just thank you so much for being here. And y'all, please reach out to David. He's so easy to talk to, and he's so easy to find and help. He's just, you're a gift, David. Thank you so much for being here. All right, guys, I will see you. And our next mentor of the month is going to be Jeffrey Gallup, and it's going to be focused on LPC associates in self-employed practice. So tell your friends, let's get some tickets sold to that so we can get some competent LPC associates out there. All right, guys, have a wonderful Monday. Bye, David. Thank you for joining me. Everybody, see you later.